minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all for being here. I'm from South Carolina, and we lead the country in nuclear. 7 reactors generate nearly 53% of the state's electricity and over 95% of the state's carbon-free emissions. While we produce nuclear energy, we also produce nuclear waste. Commercial reactor sites store in my state around 4,800 metric tons of used fuel as of 2017. In addition, Savannah River site stores approximately 8,000 tons of vitrified nuclear waste from the EM and 35 million gallons of high-level liquid waste from their environmental management cleanup. So South Carolinians have contributed, due to the Waste Policy Act, $3.1 billion, including interest, to the DOE's Nuclear Waste Fund to permanently dispose of the used nuclear fuel at Yucca Mountain. This is the third most of any state in the country. As small as South Carolina is, we've paid almost more than any other state. We're number 3 in the country. We want something for our money, and that is to store the nuclear waste. Nuclear waste currently sits 122 sites, 38 states around the country. In addition, we have 12 tons of plutonium at Savannah River site, and the mixed oxide plant is now in mothballs. So the lack of durable used fuel programs giving the U.S. nuclear industry a black eye. 70% of all reactors currently under construction are from Russia and China. These two countries, who are also our adversaries in certain ways, are positioning themselves to take a leading role in establishing global nuclear norms. I think several of the panelists have talked about Russia's positioning this morning. If we want to maintain our competitiveness in the global nuclear arena and continue to incentivize investment in the industry, it's imperative that we as a nation establish an integrated waste system and permanent repository. I had the opportunity to talk with the president on Friday evening about this particular issue, and he pointed out that Russia has stored a lot of their nuclear waste, I say stored, dumped into the ocean. That's alarming. So I think everyone's supportive of pursuing advanced reactor technologies, but we also need to prioritize maintaining our existing fleet. I'm fascinated with SMRs. I'm fascinated with thorium reactors. The whole molten salt aspect that Mr. Levisk talked about. Mr. Merrifield, given the lack of an integrated fuel system, new commercial reactors will be de facto waste sites as they currently are. How does the lack of an integrated waste system with interim storage linked to a permanent repository inhibit the progress of the U.S. nuclear industry?
Well, it's certainly from the questions that we receive from the public, it is an issue on their concern. I think, I have a tendency to try to look at the bright side of things. I think we are making progress. We have the used fuel at the sites, which is stored very, very safely in storage facilities, both wet and dry. We have the opportunity before us to have 2 interim storage facilities, one in New Mexico and one in Texas, that could provide an interim opportunity to store that fuel until Congress makes a decision with the president on moving forward with a final repository. One of the things that's going to happen in the context of the next year is that the world's first used fuel long-term repository will be opening in Finland. If you were to travel to that site, and I suggest folks do that, you would see it is a very straightforward way of storing that fuel. We have the technological capability as a country to store used fuel safely. I personally looked at the Yucca Mountain issues. I personally think it's a perfectly fine place to put it. We need to make a political decision in terms of moving forward, and that obviously rests with all of you.
Well, the decision was made in the 1980s. A geological site was found in Yucca Mountain. I've been out there as well as a nuclear national solution to a national problem. I'm from South Carolina. We had a nuclear reactor being constructed. Southern Company and SCANA both are the only new reactors built in over 30 years. I think it's the one in Tennessee. So I can't really talk about positive benefits of building new nuclear reactors because of what happened in South Carolina. I will go back to Mr. Levisk, if I'm saying that right, his point that we should have a cookie cutter design. And why are we having all these extra costs in building new nuclear reactors? We're redesigning the wheel every time we get to that point. I don't think Russia and China have that. I think they have settled on one design and they're replicating that over and over. And I believe that price curve bends down at that point. Mr. Levisk, I wanted to ask you, switching gears a little bit, I'm fascinated with those reactors. one particular interest to me is liquid fluoride thorium reactors, a type of molten salt reactor. You think that's a viable future?
So the two technologies that TerraPower has chosen to pursue are the traveling wave reactor, which is a sodium-cooled reactor, and our molten chloride fast reactor, which is a liquid fuel and liquid coolant. So earlier in TerraPower's development, we've
I'm out of
been around-
time. I want to ask you,
Yeah.
is anybody using these type reactors?
I'm sorry.
You mean the thorium base?
Yes.
Not yet. There's some companies who've chose that as their development path. We chose molten chloride fast reactor.
5 minutes goes in a hurry. I yield back.
Gentleman's time is up.